Get ready with me while I tell you guys the story of how living with my best friend ended our friendship. Last summer, I was looking for roommates in the fall when our school term started, and two of my best friends at the time were both looking for roommates too. So we all decided to live together as we had all known each other for about 5 years. Let's call the roommates James and Amy. An important detail for this story is that James and Amy used to be friends before this, but their friendship ended because Amy confessed to James that she had a crush on him. Unfortunately, James did not reciprocate those feelings, so their friendship ended. But when we were talking about rooming together, Amy assured me that those feelings were completely gone as that had happened years earlier, and she basically told me not to worry about it and that the roommate situation would work. So we bit the bullet, we signed the lease, and soon after we all moved in together. This is where it became very apparent that Amy's feelings for James were not gone whatsoever. Amy started becoming a carbon copy of James. She started listening to all the music he listened to. She would constantly ask to borrow his clothes and wear them out. And it was just very clear that she would always side with James anytime we had any debate about anything related to being roommates. James clocked this pretty much immediately after living together, and he basically talked to me because we were pretty good friends, and he told me, hey, honestly, she makes me kind of uncomfortable, so I think at some point we're gonna have to have a conversation about this. But right around the time period this was happening, I got an internship offer, which meant that I had to move away for 3 months while Amy and James lived alone together. So I flew down to San Francisco, and for a couple months, Amy and James were living alone in the apartment together. And James was basically constantly texting me while I was away, begging me to come back essentially because he found it very, very awkward to be living alone with Amy, who very clearly had some feelings towards him. While I was living in San Francisco, Amy and James asked me if they could come visit me down in San Francisco and stay in my apartment while they visited the city. Naturally, I agreed, so they came and flew down, and this is where all shit hit the fan. The trip had been going fine until the very last day when I woke up and realized that my phone was not where it was when I had fallen asleep. Amy and I were sharing a bed, and I had gone to sleep with my phone on this side of me, and I woke up with the phone in between Amy and I. Immediately, I could tell something was wrong, but I still had work to do because I was interning, so I just headed to work and didn't think anything of it. I got off work early that day because Amy and James and I had plans to visit Palo Alto after my work. But when I got back, I found that Amy was acting really, really weird and moody, and I was concerned that she fell sick or something because that's literally how it seemed. So I asked her if anything was wrong, and she assured me no, nothing was wrong, and that she just didn't feel like going out to Palo Alto that day. A detail I didn't mention yet is that Amy's ex went to Stanford, and we had plans that day to go to Palo Alto, right? So my theory about why she was acting so moody was that she realized that we might run into her ex, and she was starting to get kind of emotional about it, which I would have completely understood. And I had actually introduced her and her ex, meaning that I had his location on my Find My map, and I thought oh, maybe Amy went through my phone that night, and she found his location on the Find My map so that she could see if he was there. But you can let me know your guys' theories as to what happened at this point and come into part 2 for what actually happened. Welcome to part 2 of my Get Ready With Me while I tell you guys about my horror story of living with my best friend. So we left off when James and Amy were visiting me, and the very last day of the trip, Amy is acting really, really weird. At first, Amy claimed she wasn't up to visiting Palo Alto because she just didn't feel like it. But at the last minute, when James and I were literally heading out the door to leave, she randomly changes her mind and she's no, actually, I'm gonna come, let's go all together. And we ended up spending the day in Palo Alto, and Amy was acting very, very off. She didn't talk at all, and it was very clear something was up. But nothing really was revealed that day. We all went to sleep kind of early, and the next day, she and James got on the plane back to our home. At this point, I still had about a month left of my internship, and I began feeling very weary of, what was going to happen when I got back in town, because it was very clear that a very big change was going to happen in our roommate situation from the way Amy was acting. And I texted James, hey, has everything been okay with her? And he tells me that he hadn't seen her in weeks because she hadn't even left her room. We started to concoct theories of what could have happened in San Francisco to make her act that way, or maybe what other things in her life were causing her to be moody, but none of them were confirmed until the last day I was at my internship, and Amy texted me, hey, we need to talk, can you FaceTime? And I found it weird that she wanted to talk before I got back to the apartment the next day. And she wanted to call instead of just waiting until I was back. But y'all, the things she revealed during this call were like fucking insane. And she genuinely believed that she was like the victim in the situation. So, what Amy reveals to me is that while we were all in San Francisco together, she went through my phone one night. And she came up with this whole excuse about how she like accidentally ended up going through my phone. Obviously, it was all bullshit. But she basically tells me that she went through my phone, she went through all my texts with James, and she saw our text about how he was uncomfortable with her and how he was basically upset that they were living together and how he wanted me to come back and all of this stuff. And she told me that, you know, she was too offended to continue rooming with us and that she was going to move out. And obviously I was kind of appalled. I had been her friend for years. I trusted her with my phone password. I trusted her with so much in my life. I trusted her enough to live with her. And finding out that while I had opened my apartment to them to live with me, she basically betrayed me by going through my phone, looking through all the texts in my phone. I was like mortified. And she basically was telling me that she was calling before I came back because she was planning to move out. She had already signed a lease for a different apartment by the time she had called me. Like, that is how ready she was to move out. Turns out the month between, you know, her visiting and me coming back, she had told her dad about everything that had happened, and he agreed to basically pay her rent for a different apartment so that she wouldn't have to live with us anymore. But I honestly don't think that she understood how leases work because we had all committed to a year-long lease, meaning that her name was still on the apartment for another 9 months at this point. And it was just very odd to me that she was willing to just move out like that. And when I got back to Seattle the next day, I found out that she had been like concocting up stories to our friends about what had happened. Our mutual friends, like at first sided with her because before I even knew she was moving out, she was telling everyone like, oh, Kate's notifications popped up on my phone or popped up on my iPad and I saw all these horrible things she was saying about me, blah, blah, blah. And the horrible things in question were literally just facts. Like, they weren't anything super insulting. They were just like, oh, like, she makes me uncomfortable. Mostly text from James saying, like, oh, she makes me uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. And I was just absolutely shocked. And I would have to make a whole nother story time about how the aftermath of this was handled because it was absolutely fucking insane for, like, 3 to 4 months afterwards. There was so much, like, battling about was she gonna pay our rent? Like, was she actually moving out? Whose friends sided with who? But let me just say now, James and I are still living together in this very apartment with a third roommate who I adore now. And yeah, in the end, we're still friends with all of our old friends, and most of them dropped her because of how absolutely insane she handled the situation. And yeah, now she basically has no friends, and I wish her the best. Y'all, I forgot like the most insane detail in all of this story. So, Amy had a cat, and so did James. So we had 2 cats in our household. Obviously, each of them were just responsible for their own cat, but the week before I got back, Amy randomly disappeared off to her friend's apartment and didn't come back to our apartment for a week, just so that she wouldn't have to see James and she wouldn't have to see me when I got back. So this week that James was alone in the apartment, he didn't see Amy once, and she was not feeding her cat, she was not looking after her cat, she wasn't giving water to her cat, and she gave no word to James about it. So like a day or so in, he starts taking care of Amy's cat because obviously he's not just gonna let it die. And there was no word from her about this. He didn't even text her. He just was taking care of her cat along with his own. And he was feeding her cat his own cat's food and all of this stuff. And by the time I got back in town, she had been out of the apartment for about a week. And the litter box in her room smelled so bad because she hadn't cleaned it in weeks that the smell was permeating into our bathroom and into my bedroom. So the entire apartment just started smelling like her cat's litter. And so James and I, we got masks, we got gloves, and we went up into her room, which at this point smells like literally like a cryo chamber. And we got inside and we literally had to clean her cat's litter box because at this point, like the mess had gotten too much. I looked for a picture and I couldn't find it, but basically we had taken a picture of how much litter we took out of her cat's litter box. It was pounds and bags worth of litter. Like, it was an insane amount. And we suspect that probably the last month there, she hadn't cleaned it once because that smell does not come from just a week of no cleaning. So yeah, that was like the worst part for me is like abandoning your cat, not feeding it, not cleaning after. That is like absolutely heartbreaking. And in the end, she took her cat with her when she finally moved out. And when James was like, hey, you probably shouldn't have just left your cat here. She was like, oh yeah, oops, probably shouldn't have done that.
Get ready with me while I tell you the craziest story ever. So when I was about 2 years old and my sister was a couple of months old, we got in a car accident with my mom driving. The car accident was not my mom's fault whatsoever. We actually got rear-ended and the car completely flipped over. I'm pretty sure the car caught on fire or almost caught on fire. Either way, it was like a heated situation. Anyway, the car was completely flipped upside down and me and my sister were hanging upside down in the back seat in our car seats. Mind you, my mom was upside down in the front seat and it was very difficult for her to get out. Of course, her mom instincts kicked in and she crawled out the window, broke the glass, crawled out, and came to the back to get us. But my mom was not the one to get us out of the car. Once my mom got out of the car, she actually saw a man in a navy blue suit holding us on the side of the road, getting us out of the car. When she went to go thank the man, he just disappeared. When all the authorities asked my mom who got us out of the car, she kept saying the man in the blue suit. Everyone told her there was no man in the blue suit and asked again how she got the children out of the car. So my dad's dad, my grandpa, he died when my dad was 19. I never met him. My mom never met him. I never knew him. My dad, along with my grandma, met us at the hospital. And when my mom told my grandma that a man in a blue suit saved us and got us out of the car, my grandma was stunned. That's when my grandma says that her husband, my grandpa, was cremated in a blue suit. How crazy is that? I love every time my mom tells that story because it's just so crazy that like my grandpa saved me and my sister from a really bad car accident.
Get ready with me to throw away all my clothes and buy a whole new wardrobe. Because why did nobody tell me to not dress like me here in Germany? The stares I got last night from literally everyone should be looked into. I was legitimately pulling out my phone to see what I look like because I was like, there's definitely something on my face. Like, why are people staring this hard? And it wasn't a nice stare. I'm literally Albanian, so I can take criticism. And I also know how Europeans dress, but like, I was being looked at like I had like 5 heads. Me and my sister were talking about it and she searched it up. Apparently Germans can tell you're a tourist just by the way you dress. I mean, that goes for like anywhere, but I guess especially here because like no one here dresses up at all. And you guys know me, I have to slay every day with my outfits. I'm so scarred, I stole Jake's t-shirt. I'm like, I'm just gonna go out in this. Okay, so we went to this one restaurant and as soon as we walk in, this one lady looks at me and then she looks at her friend, taps her friend to get her attention, and then they both look at me and then they just start hysterically cracking up. I was like, damn, I'm not even like dressed differently because I'm on vacation, which by the way, I paid how much to be here? Like, I'm going to dress nice. What? Like, I wear what I wear back home, even to go to the grocery store. I like to make myself feel better and I think that like they were staring like that at me because I was too sexy. I like to think that, but I promise you like that was not the case. They do not like the Megalodon here in Germany. I was the main show for these 2 ladies last night because when I say they did not take their eyes off of me all night, after being literally dragged at dinner, we go to this one bar. We try their like famous apple cider drinks, which by the way tasted legitimately like piss. But they got you fucked up. And before we walk in, there's a bunch of people my age in front of the bar, and this one girl, I could tell she wanted to fight me for sure. As soon as I walk up, she's literally talking to someone and she looks at me, she does a double take, and then she stops the conversation just to stare at me legitimately like this. She looks at her friend and her friend looks at me like they're talking in German, and I know it was about me. Ooh, she was so lucky my phone was about to die because I was about to pull up Google Translate. I understand your fashion sense here is different, but you can appreciate a fresh fit. I look like a buffoon at that bar. Like everyone was so dressed down, and then you have me. That's literally how they were looking at me, and also they don't care. Like it's on site, they're staring at you. So if you don't like that, I don't know if this is the place for you. Other than that, Germany is freaking beautiful. We're in Frankfurt for another day, and then we're going to Dusseldorf. Okay, I'm about to get dressed. So I'm gonna see you guys in my next video, and I need you guys to let me know if that outfit is too much. Love you!
Get ready with me while I tell you about the time I convinced my cousin that her celebrity crush was texting her. This was the most devious thing I've ever done, and I think she still has like secret animosity towards me. So my cousin was a huge Justin Bieber fan. She was a huge Belieber. I mean, I know every girl was obsessed with him back in like what? I think this was 2012, 2013. But she was on a whole other level. Posters on her walls. I'm pretty sure she would kiss goodnight.
She was convinced she was gonna marry him. If she knew that he would marry Hailey Bieber, she would have just like offed herself then. I don't care. And God forbid if her mom didn't play the Believe album in the car, she would throw a tantrum. Okay, I think you get it. But anyways, one day we wanted to have a sleepover that we probably had to beg our moms to have by performing a dance routine for them. If you know, you know. And by the way, we were both around like 10 years old at this point. I don't know. But to get to the point, I decided to download this like anonymous texting app, and somehow I would be able to text her from my iPod and automatically make the contact name say Justin Bieber. I was basically secretly texting her pretending to be Justin freaking Bieber. I don't remember exactly what I said, but eventually she was like, Emily, guess who is texting me? I was like, OMG, who? What are they saying? Girl, you know damn well. You know damn well you are the one texting her right beside her. You're so fake. Like, she literally believed it, guys. Like, she didn't believe it. She believed it. Believed. I can't remember what I was texting her, but I was basically making her believe that Justin Bieber was, like, rizzing her up. Like, whoever he was with, I don't think it was Selena Gomez yet. But whoever he was with, I was making her think that he was cheating on her with my cousin. This girl was freaking out. Oh my god, Justin Bieber's texting me, Emily, oh my god. It was more like high-pitched squeals, like, oh my god, he's asking me to marry him. But, she basically could believe it because, like, I knew everything about her. It was me texting her, like, she thought that he knew her name and all this stuff. I have no idea how we kept the conversation going for, like, hours because I knew nothing about Justin Bieber. We had been chilling on the bed, literally sitting right next to each other, and I noticed that she stopped texting me. She stopped texting Justin. This girl was leaving Justin Bieber on red. Like, how disrespectful, but... She wasn't texting him, and I was confused because she was still on her phone, and I was like, has he texted you? And she just, like, gave me a look and, like, didn't say anything, and I was like, oh. I guess at some point she had seen in the corner of her eye my phone, like, the same conversation, me on the prank texting app, and, she was pissed. She was like, so it was you the whole time? And I was like, yeah. I don't remember exactly how it went down, because this was 10 years ago, but I'm pretty sure she was more sad than mad at me. I don't remember if she cried, but she got pranked hard, guys. She forgave me eventually. No hard feelings. I wonder if she even remembers this. Probably not. It was probably so traumatizing for her that she, like, deleted it from her brain or something. No, I'm kidding. But if she sees this, I can't imagine she would be mad at me for posting this. Like, I didn't even say her name. But yeah, I don't mean to, like, embarrass you, girl, but it's just, like, really funny to me. Sorry. She really thought she was gonna be one less lonely girl. Bye, all my believers.